All right, so are you ready to dive into another chilling historical account?
Always up for a good mystery.
Today we're looking into a potential demonic possession in 1899 Gourock, Ontario.
You know, the late 19th century, especially in a place like rural Ontario. Yeah, that's prime time for those sorts of stories. What's our source material this time?
Well, we're basing this deep dive on the short story, Possession, Gourock, Ontario, 1899.
Okay, a fictional account, but I bet it reflects some very real anxieties of the time.
Absolutely. I mean, just imagine, no antibiotics.
Oh yeah, a simple fever could turn deadly real quick.
And anything you couldn't explain.
Bro?
Well, that was the work of the supernatural. You can see how a story like this would really resonate.
For sure, fear of the unknown is a powerful thing. It's like a blank canvas, ready to be filled with all sorts of terrors.
Okay, so the story revolves around the Barrett family.
Okay.
Pretty typical family, loving parents, Oisin and Mary, and their daughter, Bridget.
Sounds idyllic, at least at first.
Right up until December rolls around. And then things go downhill. Fast.
Let me guess. Bridget gets sick.
Sick doesn't even begin to cover it. Starts with intense sweats. Her temperature is all over the place.
Okay, classic signs of, could be any number of things.
Violent shivers, restlessness, and then the author adds this detail. A haunted look in her eyes.
That's where it crosses over from ordinary illness into something more disturbing.
It's like something else is taking over her mind and body, and then there's the dog.
The dog.
Yeah, usually a calm, gentle family pet. But the author keeps mentioning its incessant barking. Almost like it can sense something sinister is afoot.
Okay, yeah, that's a classic horror trope, but effective nonetheless. It's like even the animals know something's wrong. So what do the parents do?
Well, they call for a doctor, naturally. A Dr. Patrick Doyle, all the way from Guelph.
Big city doctor. Maybe you'll have some answers.
But even he's baffled. He examines Bridget but can't figure out what's wrong with her.
You've got to remember, medicine back then, not nearly as advanced as today. Lots of things they just couldn't explain.
Right. So imagine the parents' desperation. Their daughter is getting worse, and even the doctor is stumped.
So what happens next? What does the doctor recommend?
Here's where it gets really interesting. Dr. Doyle, a man of science, suggests an exorcism as a last resort.
Whoa, hold on. A doctor recommending an exorcism.
Yeah.
That's pretty telling, isn't it? Shows you how intertwined religion and medicine were back then.
It speaks volumes about their worldview. They call upon Father Downey from Puslinch.
Okay, so he's the local expert on all things spiritual, I take it.
That's the idea. The author paints this very dramatic picture of Father Downey arriving at the farmhouse in the middle of a raging storm.
Of course. Gotta set the mood, right?
He's clutching his Bible, holy water, a crucifix, and a rosary, like a soldier going into battle. It's intense.
And it's about to get even more intense.
Right. Father Downey, before even starting the exorcism, he tells the parents to leave the room.
Oh, he's serious about this then. Whatever he expects to happen, it's not for the faint of heart.
It adds this whole other layer of mystery and dread to the whole thing, right?
Like we're about to witness something truly forbidden.
Yeah.
So the ritual begins.
It does. Father Downey, he's sprinkling holy water, reciting prayers in Latin, holding the crucifix up high.
And how does Bridget react to all this?
Not well, let me tell you. Her reaction is immediate and it's violent. It's like something within her is fighting back against the holy rites.
I can practically hear the spooky organ music swelling in the background. Give us some details. What happens?
Her body starts contorting in ways that seem impossible. Her eyes glow with this unnatural light, and then she lets out these guttural growls. I mean, they sound more animal than human.
This is where it really taps into our deepest fears, doesn't it? That sense of something inhuman, something malevolent invading our world.
Chilling stuff. And then, to top it all off, this voice comes out of Bridget, but it's not her voice. It claims ownership of her and basically tells Father Downey to back off.
Now that's a challenge she can't ignore.
And trust me, he doesn't. And that's a good cliffhanger to end on, don't you think?
When we come back, we'll delve into what happens next. And believe me, it's a wild ride. You've got me hooked. Can't wait to hear what happens in part 2. So last time, we left off with Father Downey facing down a demonic entity.
Right. It's claiming ownership of Bridget and challenging his authority.
And this is where the story becomes more than just, your typical ghost story. This is about a battle of wills. A clash between good and evil.
It really is. The author describes the exorcism as this prolonged, brutal fight. Father Downey is clearly shaken. but his faith doesn't waver.
That's his strength, isn't it? His unwavering belief. It's like his armor against the darkness.
And you can really feel the pressure he's under. Not only is he dealing with this unknown force, but he also has the weight of the family's hopes on his shoulders.
Maybe even the whole community's.
Exactly. Now, just when you think things can't get any more intense, Bridget's body is lifted off the bed, like completely off the bed.
Whoa, hold on. Levitating. That's taking things to a whole new level.
And the author doesn't hold back on the details. It's as if gravity itself has been suspended. This unseen force is just holding her there.
Yeah, that's an image that would stick with you.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder what people must have thought witnessing something like that.
Right. It's a powerful visual for sure. But then after this display of power, there's this sudden silence. It's like the calm after a storm.
Because it literally is, right?
Yeah.
Didn't you say there was a storm raging outside?
Yeah. The author makes a point of describing this raging storm throughout the whole exorcism. But as soon as the demonic presence is expelled from Bridget, there's this deafening roar and then silence.
And the storm outside?
Gone. Just like that. Peace descends on the farmhouse, inside and out. Bridget is back in her bed, free from the entity's grip.
Talk about a sigh of relief. It's like a rebirth, a return to innocence. So is that it? Is the story over?
Not quite. Bridget's recovery is gradual, of course. Trauma like that doesn't just disappear overnight. The author really emphasizes the importance of love and faith in her healing.
It makes sense. She needs time, support, to process what happened.
Her parents never give up on her, and that makes all the difference.
The power of family, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just them, is it? What about the community? How do they react to all this?
Well, initially, there's fear, suspicion. But when word gets out that Bridget has recovered, the community rallies around the Barretts.
That's heartwarming, especially after all the fear and uncertainty they must felt.
It shows the power of community, how people come together in times of need.
Even when faced with something as terrifying as a demonic possession, right?
Exactly. Now, what about Father Downey? What happens to him after the exorcism?
Yeah, he kind of faded into the background there. We can't forget about our demon-fighting priest.
He's hailed as a hero, obviously, but the experience clearly leaves a mark on him. He doesn't talk much about the specifics of what happened, but there's this newfound sense of gravity to him.
Like he's seen things, face something that most people can't even imagine.
It's a reminder that even those who fight for good, who confront evil, are changed by the experience.
Yeah. It makes you think about the toll it takes, the sacrifices they make.
So we've got this chilling tale of possession, exorcism, the power of faith and community. But what does it all mean for us today, in a world where science often trumps supernatural explanations? That's something we'll explore in part 3 when we delve into the modern-day demons we face. So we've traded exorcisms for therapy, holy water for mindfulness apps. But have we really escaped those demons, or just, giving them new names?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Like, we may not blame a fever on a demon anymore, but we still have plenty of things that haunt us.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. Pandemics, economic instability, climate change, those are some pretty big, scary shadows lurking around.
And they can feel just as real, just as powerful as any demon, right?
Yeah.
They can really mess with your peace of mind, make you feel powerless.
Absolutely. But instead of calling for a priest, what do? We turn to science, to therapy, to medication. We look for answers, for solutions, for ways to cope.
We join support groups, read self-help books, even listen to podcasts like this one. We're still searching for ways to understand and control those anxieties, those fears.
It's like that primal need for something to believe in, something to hold on to when things feel chaotic.
Just like the Barretts clung to their faith and their community, right? They needed that support system to get through something they couldn't explain.
We all need that. It makes you wonder, though, is calling them demons helpful? Does it just make them seem bigger, scarier?
Maybe. But it also kind of acknowledges how powerful they can feel.
Right.
It gives us a way to name them, to confront them. Like, okay, this is my demon, and I'm going to face it head on.
And maybe that's the key takeaway from all of this. Whether it's a literal demon in 1899 or a modern-day anxiety, we all have things we need to confront.
We have to find our own ways of understanding those fears, of finding strength and support. And hopefully, in the process, we learn a little more about ourselves and the world around us.
That's what this deep dive has been all about, exploring those big questions, those mysteries. So until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep diving deep.